This is Darius O'Kane at Tech Lab Studios. Our friends over at Evmux have added yet a new feature to the Evmux software, and I wanted to take a look at it and see what it can do for us in enhancing the workflow in our live streaming. So the new feature is the video effects widget, and that's something that was just added within the last couple of days. And initially, when I looked at it, I thought, okay, this is nice, but what can it really do for me? Once I got into, I could see there is a lot of features, a lot of functionality that would be beneficial to us in our live streaming. So I'm gonna come over here to my simulated MediaTek Lab screen, and just a little background on this was actually an image that I did create in Evmux using the AI editor in putting some parameters to simulate what my workspace looks, and this is what it comes up with. Got a little guy sitting over there in the chair. I call him AI Al, my digital assistant. But we're going to use this to simulate what we can do with this new video feature within Evmux. So you see over here on the left hand side, I do have some options here that I added. One would give us a full screen area where we can add video elements. Another one I'm using in my workflow for announcements. So if I have an announcement that I want to show on the screen, I can come in here and click whatever graphic I want to show on the screen, and it's going to display it. And the way that this new feature in Evmux is set up, it can display up to 10 seconds, and then that image will fade out. So here I can select, again, if I have another image that I want to show in that area, I can click on that. And this one I have set to show for 5 seconds, and then it'll go away. If I come back over here and look at my full screen elements, we see by this graphic here that it's going to take up, I have it set where it takes up the majority of the screen, not the entire screen. But again, I can come in and select what I want to show on the screen. It'll show up and then it'll go away. This one is set for 5 seconds. And then the other one that I did is a lower third. So I have just the bottom section of the screen. So we can customize where we want these elements to show up on the screen. So if I go into the lower thirds, I have one that is set just to give a little copyright message. And I have this one set for 2 seconds. So when I click it, it's going to show. Then it's going to go away. Let's say if I have a guest preacher that is there preaching at the church, I can click on this one for my friend Maurice Mickles, and his information will come up on the screen. I have it set for 5 seconds, and then it'll go away. So we have a lot of variety in what we can do and the different elements that we can bring into our production. Let me show you how we would get here. So to add this feature, we want to go into where it says add new layer. Then we want to come down to apps and widgets, and it'll take you into the Evmux Apps marketplace. Then we're going to scroll down until we see our video effects. Okay, we'll click on that and then click add to scene. Okay. So when it adds it, it's going to add it, if we see over here, as a full screen element. And then it gives you the default of the Evmux logo and then fireworks, just to give you an example of what can be done. So if I click on Evmux logo, it brings that in. And that's the same thing that is available as a stinger transition. Okay. Then if I go into the fireworks or anything that has audio with it, you can adjust that audio level. So I want to go ahead and bring that down because I don't want it to be too overbearing. I can bring it down and then click save. Then that element is there. I can click on fireworks and it'll add the fireworks animation to the screen. Okay, so if I click on back, we see that it added another item here called video effects. Okay, so we can go in and we can edit that name. So I can do rename. So I'm just going to call this test video. Continue. And so it just changed the name there. One little sidebar here. You see I have different colors on these elements here. One thing that I started doing to visually help me focus in on what I'm trying to get to is change the color rather than just have just the standard gray. If I go in here and right click on it, I have different colors I can choose here. So if I just choose this color here, there I can easily be focusing on what I want to get to. Okay, another thing that I found out as I was going through, this may have been here for some time, but I was not aware of it, is that over here on your live mode side, you have icons here that correspond back to the elements, these elements that exist over here on the left. So if I come over here to video effects, if I look at the second one, this one is the quick lower third. So I have Maurice Mickles and I have the copyright tag. So I can come here, click on either one of these elements, and it's going to immediately show it on the screen. So again, these are effects that immediately, when you select them, they're going to be displayed in your live production. You don't have to go and set it up and then transition it over. When you click on it, it's going to be on the screen. So that kind of makes that part of the workflow a little quicker and work better for me, at least. So for each of the elements that I have over here, I have a quick set where I can come over here. So here I can select one. Let's say if I want to show this Soul Food Sunday, click that, it comes up on the screen. It's going to stay on there for the preset amount of time, and then it's going to go away. So from a workflow perspective and how I would work this into my production, if the pastor is up there and he is talking about an event that we have coming up, let's say, for example, our young women's ministry is going to have a meeting. So I can come over here and come down to CUC Gems, click that, and that ad will come up on the screen. Again, stay as long as we have it set to be there, and then it'll go away. Okay, that makes this thing where I'm immediately going to add this to my workflow because, like I said, initially I thought that it was a nice feature, but as I got into it, I can see this is something that is really going to be beneficial in the long run. Okay, so we have this set up. We have our test video set up. And again, when it initially sets up, it's full screen, but you can resize it. So I can resize it however I want to, move it and put it wherever I want it to be on the screen. So I'm going to put this up in the top right-hand corner. So now I have something at the bottom. I have something at the top left. I have something that is pretty much full screen. Then I have something that's over in the top right corner. So again, I can double click on this. And again, what I have in here are the default graphics. But we do have an option down here to add from gallery. So if I click on add from gallery, it's going to take me out and show me all of the images that I have in my gallery. I think filter it down and give you some of the ones that are shorter. So it's not going to show you any long form videos, but I can see that I have images that I've entered. I have QR codes that I've created and put in there. And I also have lower thirds that have been added. So for this example, I'm going to go ahead and select one of these QR codes. This is a QR code that would direct the viewer to a document that we have stored for our Bible class. So as they're watching the Bible class, they can read along with the notes on their device and see exactly what's going on. So what I would do is add that element, and you can come in and customize how it's listed in the system. So it's going to default bring in the full file name. So I don't necessarily want to look at and see that it is actually a JPEG. So I can edit that off. And then I may come over to the beginning of it and put in QR so that I know that what I'm selecting is a QR code. All right. Here you have an option to control the duration of that element on the screen. You can edit it down. The default is 5 seconds. I can come up to as much as 10 seconds. Here I can control the animation. If you want any animation when it's being shown, it can fade in and fade out. That element can scale out as it exits the screen, or you can do fade in and fade out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to select fade in, fade out. We have the duration at 10 seconds. And you can also change the opacity. If you have something on here that you want to be have it a little faded, you can do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on save, and it adds it to my list, QR codes. And when I click on it, it's going to bring that QR code up on the screen. And if you notice here, you can see a faded progress bar as it's progressing through. And then once the time has been satisfied, it goes away. Okay? So that's how easy it is to add these elements to the screen. One thing to keep in mind is that as we add these animations, the instance that we put in is just related to that one scene that we're on. So all of these are on this one that I just have named new scene. The scene I have here with AIL, it is just on this particular scene. So if I was to transition over to another scene, I would see that we don't have these animations here. Okay? But what you can do is copy the animation and add it to whatever scene that you want it to be part of. Okay, so let me go back for a second. So if I wanted this quick announcement to appear on the other scene that I was on, all I have to do is right click it, do copy, transition back over to my other scene, right click anywhere on here, and then do paste. And it adds that to the scene. Everything is positioned as I had it before. Okay. And if I was to go in and select any of the items here, it will show up on the scene just as it did on the previous scene. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind is that as we do this process and we copy these animations from one scene to another, they're all referencing the same information. So it's not a separate entity where if I add something on this scene, then it's not available on the other scene. So just to test that out, we see that we have these 5 elements here, and then the option to add from the gallery. So I'm going to go into add from gallery, and then let's select this. Again, whenever I do something that has audio on it, bring that volume down until you test it out and make sure that it's going to work for you. This one, I'm going to go ahead and adjust the opacity a little bit and then click save. So now if I click on this, it brings it in. Okay. Now, to test what we just did, we're going to back up to our previous scene, and then we're going to go into our quick announcements. And we see that the element that we added when we were on the other scene is available in here. Once we set it up so that we have all of these sets on each of the scenes that we want to show, we can add new elements anywhere that we want to, and it will be available in subsequent scenes. Okay. One other thing I want to take a little tangent on, if I come back over to the last scene that we're on, we do have a timer up here, and this is another widget that is in the Evmux widget library. It is actually a countdown timer that we can use here. I really like this feature. One of the things that it has built into it is that you can use the auto switch functionality in the Evmux so that once this timer has elapsed, it can auto switch to the next scene or whatever scene you have specified. Evmux team, if you're listening and watching this, I wish we could have an option to allow this timer to auto start as soon as that scene becomes active. Currently, I think the way that it has to be done for this timer to work is that you actually have to go in and either click the start button here or click it up here in this area above the scene. If we could have it set so that it automatically starts when the scene becomes active, it will make it an even more powerful feature within our workflow. That's one thing that I would request. I'm happy with what I've seen here with this feature from Evmux. The new video effects widget is a very powerful tool. And again, it's something that I'm going to immediately add to my workflow and make it work for me. If you have any questions, please drop the questions in the comments and I'll review it and get back to you and keep this going forward. Thanks.